It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Clemson Tigers Associate Head Volleyball Coach Taylor Unroe. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to start college coaching?
Yeah, so I was playing at the University of Florida and was wrapping up my graduate studies, my thesis and all that. And I was finishing my playing season as a fifth-year senior and kind of had a little bit of what am I going to do after this moment? And I started emailing coaches in the fall before I graduated that spring and said, hey, I believe college coaching is something I want to get into when I'm done playing. I just want to get you on or get myself on your radar. So when that time comes, I'd love to speak with you. And it was a bit naive on my end. I think it was really funny thinking back of like who I emailed. And these people are all people who I've known coming up through the juniors, kind of scene club in Muncie, Indiana, and then at Florida. So I was emailing like Craig Skinner at Kentucky, who we played against all the time. And I've known him for a long time. And I don't even remember, maybe I was Robbie, who was at Arkansas at the time. So I was like emailing these really high level head coaches and being like, hey, in 8 months from now, I might get into coaching. Just want to let you know. So it makes me smile thinking about those emails. But so I kind of started thinking about it then. And then when I finished my senior season, when we got done playing in the NCAA tournament, I went to the Final Four as Coaches for Coaches. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's like a scholarship through the AVCA, which is like our governing body of volleyball. And they will sponsor people to come to the Final Four and go to all the sessions and network. And so I went to the Final Four on that scholarship. And that's when I really decided that this is the career I wanted to go into. And here I am.
Of course, what was your experience like playing for Florida Gators?
It was great. I would pick Florida every time. I had a kind of unique recruiting process in that it was super short. I committed as a 14-year-old freshman in high school and was committed to them my whole high school career and went there, had a great career, had a great time. It's an amazing university that's just filled with winners. All the programs win, and that was really fun for me to be a part of. And again, I would choose it every time. We had a lot of success. Obviously, winning is really fun, but I had so many great teammates and coaches and support staff at Florida that is really excited about Florida. And so it was great. I would choose Florida every time, no doubts.
What was it like, obviously, getting to put on that blue Florida Gators jersey?
Yeah, it was an honor every time. And that may sound a little cheesy, but we had so much pride in the university and in our team. And every time, whether it was around town in Gainesville or when we were playing a match or on social media or whatever, we really tried hard as a group to represent ourselves and the volleyball program and the university to the utmost, respect and dignity and integrity. And so every time I put that jersey on, I felt that the need to be a great role model, to, be the best I could be for the little girls coming to our game to watch us, or the people who donate to our, donor program or whatever it may be. I really felt a lot of pride in that.
Coming out of Florida, what was it like getting into college coaching and getting your first job at High Point?
My first job was actually at George Mason University. And I worked for my now boss, Jackie Simpson. She was a first-time head coach at George Mason as her first job as a head coach, like I said. And it was wild because I thought that I always made jokes to my coaches about, like, what do you do all day? Like, we're not in practice. What do you do all day? And they were always like, man, I just wish you knew, kid. I wish you knew what I did every day, what I did all day. I obviously know that now as a coach, that there is so much more to what we do than just that in practice skill instruction or gameplay. That's a very limited, maybe 10% of our job is dedicated to that. So I learned very quickly, as I was in charge of team travel. I was our camp director, and I had my hands in recruiting. So I quickly learned how busy your days got and how much just the sheer volume of emails you got every day. So that was a big eye-opening experience and kind of a slap in the face, if you will, of like, wow, this job is way more intense than just coaching. And I learned a lot in that job of how to grind and how to just wear multiple hats on top of my duties as a coach and a role model for the kids.
What was it
I
like?
say kids, but they were like my age. when I first got my job, I was 23, and one of our 5th-year seniors was 23 as well. So that was funny.
What were some of your accomplishments at George Mason?
So when we got to George Mason, we had recruits that were obviously recruited and played for the previous coach on top of some of our recruits coming in that freshman class. So that first year was a bit of a whirlwind in terms of kind of changing their mindsets to reflect what Jackie and I and Scott, his name was Scott, was our other assistant, were trying to teach them and preach to them. So that was a bit of a whirlwind. In terms of accomplishments, we had some A10 honors. I think Sydney Finoga, who was one of our middle blockers, got, I believe she got a Defensive Player of the Week award at one point. We had a great libero on our team. Her name was Katie Espinoza, and she was one of the dig leaders in the conference and made a really big impact on that program. So those were some of the small ones. We also had, more program wins that season they had in a while. So that was a big accomplishment. Small things like that are huge. I say small things, they weren't small. They were really important for that program who hadn't necessarily been successful in previous years or the last couple years. So that was awesome for us to accomplish right away. And props to the previous coach who's now a head coach again. She had a great group of kids that were there, and we were just able to tweak some of the small stuff and have some pretty good success right away.
What was your time like during the High Point?
Yeah, so when I went from George Mason to High Point University. It's in High Point, North Carolina. And I was with the head coach's name was Tom Mendoza. He's now the head coach at South Carolina. So we remain very close and we play each other in preseason. Clemson and South Carolina always play each other. It's a rivalry. So it's fun to be back with Tom and his wife, Megan, who's his director of ops. Like I said, we remain very close and have close communication. So I was with Tom, and it was just him and I on staff, which was a grind. And we had an insanely talented group of players and went undefeated in conference play. We won the regular season Big South title. We ended up losing in the final of the conference tournament to Radford, who was very talented, and thought our season was over, and it was devastating. But that next week, I was actually down in Clemson because it's only 3 hours from High Point. And I was visiting Jackie, and we were in the car, and we got a phone call, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, look at your phone, look at your phone." And I looked at my phone, and Tom had called me like 3 times, texted me, and was like, "We got an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament." And I was like, "Oh my God," like that was something that was definitely an option or a possibility, but we were a bubble team. So we weren't really banking on it because we didn't have any top like 50 wins, which is part of the, a selection process for the at-large bids. And so we got the first at-large bid in Big South. So like any team in the Big South across the board had never gotten an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament. We were the first team to do that. We were the first team at High Point to do that. And so that was huge. It was a great opportunity for our players. we had to immediately turn around and travel out to Utah. We played Purdue in the first round. We took a set off of Purdue, which was insane. Also, kids had never, taken a set off a Big Ten opponent before. So overall, it was a whirlwind of a lot of success, and the kids there and the school, High Point, is a really unique place. I had a great time there. It's easy to recruit to. It's beautiful. The players were intelligent and kind and really hardworking. So I have nothing negative to say about High Point or my time there. It was really fun. And Tom, my boss, was really great as well.
What was your time like going to Memphis to become the associate head coach?
Yep. So I spent 2 years in Memphis, and I love everything about the city of Memphis. I had a great time there. The biggest draw for me for Clemson, for Memphis, was their volleyball only facility. It's a old men's basketball facility, so it's huge. And we had everything that we could ever possibly need in that building, or an athletic training room, kitchen, lounge, locker room. It was great. It was top of the line for volleyball, and it was a great recruiting tool and great for the existing players on the roster. They have so many resources there that are special for a mid-major program that was on the up and up. So I was really drawn to that program that was one of the big reasons. Another reason was the head coach at Memphis, his name is Sean Burdett. He coached against me when I was playing at Florida. He was an assistant at Ole Miss. So we had a connection there, and going to, my next program, something that was really important for me was working for a boss that would mentor me and had a lot of experience and had experience building programs. And Sean had that. He was the head coach at Green Bay for about 4 years and took that program from, not having a lot of success to an insane amount of success very quickly. So that was a big draw for me. I loved my time in Memphis. We did a lot of special things there, beat a lot of opponents that they hadn't ever beat before. And I had a great time, and I continue to follow that program and can follow the kids that I recruited there. And I'm very excited. They're having a lot of success this year too. So it's great to see.
Of course, what was it like for you to leave Memphis to go to Clemson?
It was bittersweet. It was definitely bittersweet because I loved Memphis. I had good friends within the program and in the community. But this is the job I've been waiting for, not necessarily Clemson, but I've been waiting to work with Jackie again since we parted ways at George Mason. And so this is the job I've been waiting for. This is the opportunity I've been waiting for. It just so happened to be at Clemson, where she's been for the last 4 years as the associate head coach in the position I'm in now. But it was bittersweet, but I had so much support from my boss at Memphis and from the administration at Memphis to take this next step and get into, more of the Power 5, I guess, world, Power 5 world. They were really supportive of that. And so it was bittersweet. I was excited for the next opportunity, but I was really close with my players there. I love them. I loved my boss and like I said, the city. So it was bittersweet, but I'm happy to be here for sure.
What's it like for you to go full circle from obviously your time with Jackie at George Mason to now coming full circle and coming back to Jackie at Clemson?
I think we have something really special as a staff. Obviously, her and I have known each other for a long time, but the people that make up our staff are great. And so I go to work every day and have fun. I smile every day. We laugh every day, but we also all grind really hard. And so that's a good environment to be a part of. The university, Clemson University, is, on the up and up in terms of sports. We're adding more women's sports with gymnastics and lacrosse. So the development of athletic facilities and adding to really crazy followed women's sports is going to be exciting. Everybody loves gymnastics, and lacrosse is just huge on the East Coast. So adding those two things are going to be great for us. And then in terms of just seeing Jackie grow from the first time I was with her as a first-time head coach to now, it's wild to see how different she is, how more established in her program philosophies she is, and the things that she believes make a great head coach. She's so confident and so, inspiring. And she mentors us as a staff, but she also mentors our players. And that's something I'm very passionate about as well. And so it's great to be back with her, and her family are great. I'm very close with them, and I don't know, it's great. It's kind of surreal still. I'm still not sure it's real. I'm still settling in for sure.
Of course, as you begin your first season with Clemson, what are some of your accomplishments so far?
So to name a few, in preseason, we actually beat a Big Ten opponent. We beat Rutgers at our place, and it was the first time Clemson had beaten a Big Ten opponent since, I believe, 1999. So that was huge. That's a big accomplishment for these kids. I think the biggest thing that we're seeing is obviously not getting as many W's on the record book that we want, but we're seeing this team push so many matches into extra sets, extra innings, extra points, and the grind that we're seeing from them on a day-to-day basis, defensively, offensively, and then just attitude about things. That's been something that I've hung my hat on the most so far. I take a lot of pride in our defense, obviously, because I run our defense from a blocking scheme perspective and also technical coordination and all that stuff. And so I think that has been just the sheer amount of digs that we're able to get per set. Our liberos are crushing it, and our blockers, we have a couple middle blockers that are really crushing it. And that's kind of the stuff that we're focusing on, process-based things rather than results. So I expect to see this team. We have a very young team. It's mostly sophomores and freshmen. So in the next couple of years, these kids are going to just take off. And I think it's going to be really exciting for people to watch.
What has it been like, obviously, coaching in the ACC and having teams like Duke and Carolina and NC State in your conference?
It's pretty bizarre because the ACC, the amount of teams that are in the top 50 and the top 25 this year is crazy. It's crazy good for the conference because obviously that's going to increase our chances of getting more at-large bids because of RPI. And so it's great for everybody. But it's insane that I think they're all in the top 10, top 3 programs in our conference are all in the top 10 of the NCAA. So it's obviously challenging, and we're seeing great competition by every single team. So the North Carolinas, the Dukes, the NC States, like there's no easy win in our conference. And that's not something that's necessarily been the case for the last 10 years or so in the ACC. And they're pushing, to be in the talks of the SECs and the Big Tens and the Pac-12s and the Big 12s. Like people are really paying attention to the ACC right now. So that's special, and it makes my job harder, but it's also really fun.
What's a typical game day like for you as a course coach?
So a typical game day, we usually will do film and just we do film earlier in the week, but we do a quick film review on the day of the game, and, serve and pass and all those things. In terms of in-match game day sort of vibe or what we do, a big thing that we really try to do with the players is give them the lineups pretty early so they can prepare mentally. We've had a little bit of lineup changes this season, which is a good thing. We have depth that we can use based on multiple factors. In match, I don't know. I think if you watch our staff work together, it might seem like we have these iPads and we stare at the iPads. And I've had multiple people ask me, like, what are you looking at that iPad? Like, what are you doing? And we have a data volley. Our director of ops does data volley for us. And so we're constantly looking at stats and monitoring certain things. I'm monitoring my defensive things. Maddie's monitoring the offensive things with Jackie. And, we're making decisions on the fly during those games and trying to make the best decisions possible to set us up for success. So that's kind of like the in-match stuff that we're doing and talking about. Game days are honestly pretty chill compared to the rest of the week. They come in, like I said, for film, and we have pregame meal, and we kind of talk, and we do recovery with our athletic trainer and serve and pass, and then we play the game, and then we go home. It's pretty like bang bang, and most of our prep is happening earlier in the week.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you have helped build with Jackie for the Clemson Tigers?
Yep. So our program guidelines are gratitude, grit, and grace. And we try to operate within those three, guidelines. And gratitude, we enter every moment, enter every practice situation with gratitude, thankful to be there, appreciate that we're there and that we have the opportunity. We, operate with grit. So that's not just in practice, that's in the classroom. And we really try to be gritty and outperform our opponents and just no excuses. We go hard all the time. And then we give grace also. So that's grace to ourselves, grace to our teammates, grace to our friends, our professors, and, forgiveness, grace, love. All those things are things that we really promote to our kids every single day. And what we also how we operate as a staff and as individuals with these young girls, young women, sorry. And it's a little different than things that they've necessarily talked about in the past. The one thing I will say about Jackie is she is unwavering in these concepts and is not driven by results, which I think is pretty special. And we are always focusing on the process and not about the results, because results will give you instant gratification, where process and success in the process is going to be withstanding over time. And that's what we keep trying to tell to the players. And the success will come, the wins will come, the numbers will come. You just got to be patient and stick in that process, be gritty in that process, and give yourself some grace when you don't necessarily reach the goal that you want to get to, but be unwavering in your confidence, in your belief that you can get there. So it's really nice, because that's how I try to live my life too. And it's good for me to hear those messages, because I'm very hard on myself. I'm very competitive. So it's easy to perceive that you have failed when you don't get what you want, or you don't reach a goal that you want to get to. So again, it's good for me to hear those things as well, because it applies to me.
What is the recruitment process like for prospective student athletes looking to play college volleyball?
Yeah, it's ever changing with the rules surrounding recruiting from the NCAA. But right now, the big things are, we are contacting these kids once they're a junior or above in high school. We can contact them directly, and whether it's, we've seen you play live and we'd love to bring you on a visit. It looks a lot of different ways, honestly. Sometimes I just happen to be walking by a court at a club tournament, and I see someone who has skills that we're, excited about, and we're making notes and then contacting them, or contacting their club directors to get an idea of where they're at in their recruiting process. The big thing is, we can't contact kids that are younger than junior year. So that's an obstacle, but also a good thing. Like I said earlier, I was committed as a 14-year-old freshman, and that is no longer a thing. We cannot do that anymore. So we're seeing these kids at camps, we're seeing them play at tournaments, but we're not able to contact them or bring them on campus until they're a little older, which I think is a great thing. And it just depends on what we need for that recruiting class, or what we have available in terms of roster spots. And sometimes it's fly by the seat of your pants. Sometimes someone pops up and you're like, whoa, gotta have her. Or sometimes we're taking our time, and maybe we don't fill a spot in a certain position in a certain class because we haven't found that perfect fit. And something that Jackie really believes in, and I really believe in, we really believe in, is not only do we need great talent, but we need great human beings who can buy into our program philosophies. Because it's like any sport, you recruit someone to fit a system, and you recruit someone that doesn't fit that system, it's not going to work out, or it may be a little bit more challenging than you would like it to be. So we really focus hard on the human aspect of recruiting as well.
Of course, as the recruitment process has changed from when you were in college, how has it obviously changed, but how have obviously, let's say, the 14-year-old freshman that you were, do you still look at them and be like, okay, let me keep my eye out on them until they're a junior, and then obviously contact them when they're a junior?
Definitely. We're recruiting 3-4 years out from where we are now. So we're not really looking at 26s or anything like that, the graduating class of 2026, but 24s, 25s, like they're on our radar. We're not necessarily doing a lot with them, but we know who they are. And there's a level of engagement that we want to make sure they're aware of us as well. So we really focus on social media and, getting on their radar in that way. But yeah, they're definitely, we know who they are, but we can't talk to them or, really interact with them at all.
What does the official visit look like for prospective student athletes in the volleyball side?
Official visits can look like a lot of different things. We try to do a lot of our official visits during the fall so we can incorporate other sports, whether it's soccer or football, and really get them out into the campus environment so they can see game days for multiple sports and see how much other sports are supported on campus. But we really try to spend a lot of time with them as a staff, and we eat a lot of good food. There's a lot of good food here in Clemson. So we do that. We have them spend time with the players because it's great if we like them, but we need to make sure that they get along with our players as well, and they're a good fit with our players. And so, some official visits are in and out really quick in one day. Some are the full 48 hours, which is the time we're allotted for official visits. But yeah, every official visit looks different, but the big things are eating great food, spending time with us, quality time with us, and quality time with our team.
Of course, on the official visit, do those prospective student athletes get to try on the Clemson jersey?
We have done photo shoots. So this year we had all of our 2022 commitments that are now signed and will come next fall. We had them do a photo shoot in jerseys, and they had a great time. We had ring lights, and we had our photographers working with them. And so, yeah, they definitely get to do that and get that experience.
Of course, as a coach, what is it like seeing those players, those prospective student athletes put on that jersey and feel like, okay, Clemson is going to be my home for the next 4 to 5 years?
It's really special. And, they have no idea what they're in for yet. I didn't either. No one who goes into college sports really knows until they're there. And they're so excited, and they're so, just thrilled to be a part of it. And that is, every time I see that, it's like a refresher. Because as we all know, when we get comfortable with something, you just are comfortable. And they kind of bring a new breath of fresh air in terms of excitement and, excitement about the game, excitement about Clemson, excitement about their teammates and us. So it's nice. It's really nice. And I'm excited for them to get here. We have 7 incoming players, so it's going to be wild.
What advice would you have prospective student athletes looking to play college volleyball?
My biggest piece of advice for recruits coming up in the ranks would be an active part of your recruiting process. Don't allow anybody else to do your recruiting process for you, because you are the one who will be playing for whatever schools you're interested in. And you're the one who will have to be okay with your coaches, be okay with the location of your university, be okay with the university itself. Heaven forbid there's an injury that happens. Do you still love that school outside of sports? That's something that I really am passionate about, that message. There's tons of recruiting services. There's things that you can do to be on the radar, but I always say an email is free, and you can find our emails online at any time. So really be an active participant in your recruiting process and be very specific. I had a kid tell me once, I've emailed 100 schools. I'm like, can you even name 100 schools? Can you name 100 coaches that you even know or would want to play for? And she's like, no, but someone told me to do that. And I'm like, I don't know, kid. I don't know if that's the right thing to do. It was a family friend, someone I was really close with. And I really encourage kids to be very specific. Get an idea of where you want to be located in the United States. Do you want to be on the East Coast, Midwest, West Coast, South? Like, where do you want to be? Do you want to be frozen up north, or do you want to be summertime 24/7 in the South? And I think a lot of kids don't really think about that part of it. What level do you want to be at? There's a place for everybody. Division 1, 2, 3, NAIA, JUCO, like there's a place for everybody. Don't be so, I have to be Division 1 or it's not good enough, or I have to be Division 1 or it's not, for me. Keep your options open, because there's some really great programs at all levels and really great coaches at all levels. So those are kind of my big, pieces of advice for recruits.
What advice would you give college volleyball players looking to go from obviously playing volleyball to coaching like you did?
I think I've had many teammates ask me, I'm not quite sure what I want to do. How do you feel about coaching? And my response every single time is, make sure that's what you want to do. And don't just do it because it's the default. I know how to do this, so I'm just going to be a coach. I will say that I did that. I did that, but it worked out really well. And I happened to really, really love it and be passionate about it. So it worked out well for me, but I don't think it's a profession that you should just be like, I guess I'll do this. It's not an easy profession. There's a lot of time that goes into it. There's a lot of travel that goes into it. Emotional investment in these young women. It can be hard. It is hard. And so I would just make sure that it's something that you're willing to dedicate your 100% effort to and your passion to, and it's going to work out for you. But if you want something that isn't like this, then obviously you shouldn't do it. But I've had many conversations with teammates and people that I've coached about this exact topic. So
what advice would you give future college coaches looking to get started in the industry?
In terms of young coaches, or what do you mean?
Yes, young coaches looking to get started into the industry of college coaching.
I think it's the same thing that I would give advice to a recruit on, in terms of keep your options open. It doesn't have to be Division 1. It doesn't have to be Power 5. It doesn't have to be something specific. It could be, Division 1, 2, 3, JUCO, NAIA. But also, what do you want for your life? So something for me, I always knew going out west, so, past Tennessee, wasn't really something I wanted to do, because my family's in Indiana and I wanted to stay closer to my family so I could hop in the car and go if I needed to, if something happened or whatever. So I've primarily been in the Midwest, in the South, and on the East Coast. So as a young coach, figure out those sort of things for yourself, and then don't settle for just any opportunity that comes your way. Really be mindful of those things. And what type of career do you want to have? I'm very passionate about being mentored and learning new things every single day. So I made sure I worked for people that were going to do that for me. And I didn't settle for, just any old opportunity, because I knew what I wanted to get out of this career.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media, and where can my listeners find the volleyball program at?
Yep. So I have a personal Instagram account. I'm not really on Facebook or Snapchat. My Instagram handle is Taylor_Unroe, which is UNROE. That's how you spell my last name. And then Clemson Volleyball has its Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We also have just our regular website on Clemson's athletic website. You can find us there. We're pretty active on Instagram and Twitter, so I think you'll find some good content there.
Thank you again, Coach Taylor Unroe, for your interview, and best of luck in your future as you begin your career with the Clemson Volleyball.
Thank you so much.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Taylor, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.